To stop epileptic seizures, doctors will remove a portion of a child's brain, but they will not prescribe them cannabis oil. Me trying to simplify what awakening means to people still asleep. Here we go. Everything you thought you knew is a lie. Psychopathic parasites control the world, and you're an infinite light being incarnated as a human in a 3D biological hologram. Get it? Got it? Good. We spent £840 billion of your money bailing out bank fraudsters. Now we're going to spend over £200 billion of your money on nuclear warheads. Several billion more for the NHS? We don't have that kind of cash. Privatisation is the only option. Now is the time to get angry, Britain. These parasites have run this place for far too long and are always only for their own benefits. You have a queen. I'm her fourth cousin. I also wrote a book about dismantling and privatising the NHS, and that's all the qualifications I needed to be put in charge of Britain's healthcare. Jeremy couldn't. Western governments do attack their own people. Just let that sink in. Why? So they can instigate a state of emergency and manage their populations. Sanctions, restrictions, new laws, removal of civil freedoms, liberties, state of fear resulting in public obedience, compliance and servitude, justification for illegal wars in foreign countries. Research, false flag attacks, strategy of tension, PSYOP. Step back. Become informed and join millions of people around the globe who are awakening up to reality right now. You will never find the truth on TV or via the mainstream media, so use online alternative media and question everything. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's heading up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare and reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. Bill Gates. We are being systematically poisoned. He's talking about depopulation. And when he talks about depopulation, let's get this crystal clear so that you get it. He means killing you. Social engineering. Intelligence agencies around the world use social media to research potential recruits. Hobbies, political affiliations, deaths in the family, pets and places frequented can all be used against us. So if you decide for whatever reason that you want to be on Facebook or something like that, don't put personal information. I mean, the only thing that I would put on there is stuff like this video, for instance, and news. Never anything about my personal life, because that's separate. Gibraltar police arrest captain and officer of seized Iranian tanker as British ships are warned to be on high alert after Royal Navy had to defend UK vessels from Iranian boats. What a crock of bullshit! That stinks straight out the bat. It's Iran, yeah, because they're the baddies. So we need to invade them with all the troops we've got around them and all the military bases we've got around them, because they're the baddies. Gibraltar police arrested the captain and an officer from the Grace 1 supertanker. Comes a week after the vessel was seized near the British territory and accused of violating EU sanctions against Syria, sparking a tense standoff with Iran. Tension nearly boiled over Wednesday when Iranian ships hassled a UK vessel. Navy frigate HMS Montrose trained its guns on the boat and they backed off. Iran denied the confrontation, saying there were no clashes with alien boats. I'd be more inclined to believe the Iran version than anything from our corrupt bastards. Gibraltar police have arrested the captain and chief officer of an Iranian oil tanker which was seized by Royal Marines near the British territory last week. So it was actually stolen by Marines. So the men, both Indian nationals, were arrested on Thursday afternoon, but neither have been charged, the spokesman added. The arrest come exactly a week after the Grace 1 tanker was stopped trying to enter the Mediterranean for allegedly violating EU sanctions against Syria, sparking a tense standoff between London and Tehran. Those tensions almost boiled over Wednesday when the 3 Iranian vessels tried to impede UK-flagged tanker British Heritage as it made its way through the Strait of Hormuz, ordering it to change course and stop. Royal Navy frigate HMS Montrose trained its guns on the Iranian vessels and ordered them to back away, which they did without firing a shot. As usual, links in description if you want more info. GMO foods are set to be mislabelled as biofortified. Yeah, because everyone's sussing out that it's all poison. GMO food will soon be marketed as biofortified as the agenda to sneak GMOs into our food advances. If you have ever been to Berlin, Germany in the late fall, you know how miserably wet, cold and windy it can be. The only refuge from those elements is to be found indoors, but even then there can be events that drive you right back outdoors and into the elements. Such was the case with the Codex Committee on Nutrition and Foods for Special Dietary Use, which was holding its 40th session during the week of November 26th to 30th, 2018 in that city. As most of you already know, the Codex Alimentarius Commission and its various committees spread throughout the world established food standards and guidelines after the 8-step process of consideration and debate that are then usually adopted by the Codex member states. The Codex Nutrition Committee is one of the many committees that develop those food standards and guidelines. It is also one of the committee with the most controversial issues. Biofortification is a method of increasing certain vitamin and mineral content of basic food crops by the time-honoured conventional way of crossbreeding and not through genetic engineering. Harvest Plus. The company behind it, Biofortification, will, for example, increase the links in description if you want to read the rest of that, but I won't be touching it. Age UK. 50,000 elderly in England have died waiting for social care packages. It's part of the depopulation agenda. Ministers accused of being in denial about perilous state of local authority finances. More than 50,000 people have died waiting for care while Minister dither over long-awaited plans to overhaul the funding of social care, a charity has claimed. Age UK estimates that in England 54,000 people, or 77 a day, have died while waiting for a care package in the 700 days since the government first said in March 2017 it would publish a social care green paper, which has since been delayed several times. The claim came as a cross-party group of MPs warned that the government was in denial about the perilous state of English local authority finances, a crisis driven by a growing demand for the care of vulnerable adults and children. Simply part of the depopulation package which they've had planned all along. MPs urge police investigation into banks alleged forging customer signatures. Treasury Select Committee calls for probe after consumers allege illegal signing of repossession documents, which is what I've been talking about for years and exposing for years, but the fact it's actually even in the mainstream media is amazing in itself. Financial and legal authorities are being pressed by MPs to probe allegations concerning banks potentially forging signatures on a large scale, and that's why I say there's not been a legal eviction in the UK in the last 25 years. Nicky Morgan, who chairs the Treasury Committee, has written to the Financial Conduct Authority and the National Crime Agency requesting that they investigate as appropriate. There have been allegations that home repossessions and other documents may not have been signed by the authorised signatory. Andrew Bailey, Chief Executive at the SCA, was previously asked about allegations of potential criminal activity occurring at banks in June during an evidence session. Steve Baker MP said previously that he had been shown some evidence that in certain business processes, such as home repossessions, the act of delivering capacity for these business process might mean that paperwork is signed by somebody who is not the authorised signatory within the bank before taking possession of someone's home. In other words, fraud. That's what it means, plain and simple. The banks have been committing fraud, and they've been doing it, well, for as long as there's been banks. The Times. Brilliant bathrooms. All eyes on England as they reach historic final. Great. Inmates to be handed cell keys. Cash bonus and extra gym time for prisoners in radical jail reforms. Anti-Semitism plea. Yeah, you can have it all you want. Sharp rise in the firsts. Ships on high alert. Saudi equality boost. Digital tax clash. Serena marches on. The Guardian. Dozens more will testify over Labour anti-Semitism. Sick of that bullshit. The shadow cabinet and NEC need to know urgently what you have sent to the EHRC inquiry in our party's name. How's that? England crush Australia to take place in World Cup final. Academy status forced on 300 primary schools. Forced, because we live in a dictatorship. Why they force it? Because then, well, there's reasons behind it. You want to know, you've got to have to do your own digging. Telegraph. Iran crisis shows we must boost Navy. Okay. Foreign Secretary says fleet is dangerously depleted as he promises hard power as PM. Yeah, right. Burko must respond to harassment report. Backlash as Tommy Robinson is jailed. Spanish summers don't work well over here. Give me drizzle any day. Well, fortunately you're in England, you're going to get that anyhow. New tax on tech giants risks a rift with the US. Patients battle to CGP. No. Charles sets climate deadline. At last another shot at the title. The scum. England heroes batter Aussies. Really. The Boris backs veterans campaign. Victory. Tory PM favour now to stop witch hunt. Daily Fail. Yes, we really are in the World Cup final. Britain's most notorious female paedophile abused up to 30 infants in her care, then shared the images with perverts. Now, to the horror of her victims, she's to be freed after less than 10 years. How can this be justice? And quite simply, it isn't justice, because if you're a paedophile, you're one of the establishment, you're one of the judges and that sort of thing, so you get treated really leniently and let out and let off as often as possible. But that's because we're run by a bunch of satanic paedophiles. Aye. MPs plot common sit-in to block Johnson no-deal Brexit. Need to get rid of that bunch of twats. How's that? Yeah. Royal Navy on high alert for Iran threat to British ships. So after we've attacked one of their ships, we're on alert in case they attack one of us back. Is that pretty much it? Seems to be. Fears that UK oil tankers at risk from gunboat attack. Escalating tension between London and Tehran. Navy warships expected to intervene again to protect one of the world's busiest oil supply routes, but cannot guard 30 large UK vessels in Gulf every day. HMS Montrose aims to its guns at Iran boats to save tanker. To save it from what? Tory vote shambles. Women denied HRT is shortage. Royal Ink Bumper of Year for souvenirs. My Eco Zombie Movie, must read Nimco Elf, or Ellie, or whatever. Metro 5-star, Sheridan. House of Horrors, sex abuse rife in Parliament. Told ya. Bullying dismissed as banter, career suicide to complain. Robinson sent back to jail for contempt. Beckham holds court at Wimbledon. England run to World Cup final. Again, that's it. But as I've been saying all along, sex abuse is rife in Parliament, and the bullying is dismissed as banter. It's a house of it. It's an evil den of bunch of twats that need locking up. Express. Struth, England thrash Aussies. Damning inquiry slams MPs bullying. Common staff suffer sex assault and harassment. Seeing double Y's, Claudia waxing lyrical. Waste of paper star. Gaza exclusive. Hack of the net. Mum's agony has put a perv sends sex text from Footy Ace's phone. That's just a waste of paper, man. FT. France and UK face showdown with US over tech tax plans. White House says levies are unfair. Apple and Facebook among targets. Europe emerging market are the new hunting ground for bond deal tourists. And almost finally, as you can see, gonna trust government as soon as I fill this bucket. That's a sensible attitude. Hi, I'd like a wake-up call. Okay then. The EU will now be headed by a corrupt German minister, a failed Belgian PM, a Spanish politician famous for repression in Catalonia, a French finance minister convicted of negligence of 417 million of taxpayers' money. All of them are unelected and unaccountable. I think I found my new lawyer. Just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. Cannabis overdose deaths are now equal to the number of people gored to death by unicorns.